Well, Lorenzo, no better way to start the season here on Believe Chargers than with the head coach of the Bolts. They get things underway week one against Miami. And, Coach, I know you don't want to look back, you want to look forward, but it really was a masterpiece. Last year, it was a blueprint that a lot of people followed when it came to these Miami Dolphins. And it was a week to week thing, it felt like, for the defense, where we didn't know what you were going to throw at these opponents. Can you carry any of that over, or do so many things change year to year?
Yeah, Matt, I think a lot of changes, but I think what we can carry over is that we play team defense, and I think that's when you have a type of, that type of performance, usually it's because, you did it in all three levels and you did it for 4 quarters. And so that's what really want to hope for from a performance standpoint is that all three levels of your defense are playing like that for 4 quarters. And the matchup's going to be a lot different. As you know, that matchup was unique in terms of, how many guys we had out for that game. And they've got a brand new team, and so do we. So, this is two quality opponents, and they're well coached. They got a lot of personnel. So, excited for the challenge.
Coach, thanks for joining us again. How do you, when you assess the season, upcoming season, and in the first game especially, guys are going to be flying around. It's the first game of the season. What is the temperament? What are some of the things that you do to make sure that guys are prepared and ready to play?
Well, I think Lorenzo, in that first one, there's always like the unknown, and is what you see during the preseason, what you're going to get. Okay, there's this. What are they holding back, and all the unscouted looks, and really, I think your first game, your opener's got to be about you. It can't be about the opponent. You got to make sure that your players are playing fast, and you hear that term all the time, but I think and making sure that we run the plays in all three phases that we really know by heart, and then playing a fundamentally sound game, playing with the right technique, staying away from penalties, doing the things that affect winning, and really focusing on that as opposed to what plays could they be running, and hey, this and that. Just make sure that hey, your cleats are in the ground, you're ready to adjust throughout the game. You're going to have to make adjustments, but you're controlling those things and dominating the controllables in the first game.
Coach, when it comes to just kind of having your team ready for week one, you mentioned it. It's the greatest ability is availability, right? That's the saying. You
Yeah.
came through the preseason for the most part completely intact. I know Dayon's dealing with a little bit of a hammy, but other than that, you're clean. Is there anything more than luck? Is there anything you can do? I mean, because you know it well about trying to keep a team healthy for
Mhm.
17 games in a season.
Yeah, I think it's a great question, Matt, and a great point going in the first game. I think you can't give enough credit to Marco Zacconi, Sal Lopez and his staff, Anthony Lamondo, Paige Howard, and then our coaching staff and personnel department. I think we committed a lot of resources into studying ourselves, really over the past decade. Certainly my first 2 years here, but looking at a lot of different data and different teams and different sports, and I think the best way to be healthy is to get ready. And as Lorenzo knows, this is a physical game, and you got to make sure that you ramp up the right way, that you get the right amount of work because it's a physical game. Blocking and tackling, you have to do those things in order to be ready to do them when it counts. So I just thought our camp was physical. I thought our guys were in really good game shape. I thought that the preseason games reflected that in terms of our style of play and how we played in those games. And then I think the level of consistency and practice throughout camp was the highest since I've been here. And so it's a credit to all those people. And most importantly, our players. Our players are the ones that deserve the credit for this injury report because they're the ones that have put in all the hard work.
Coach, when you think about football, and everyone talks about, offense entertains, defense wins championship. People get caught up in offense and defense. I'd like to think that games are three phases. Offense counts as third, defense counts as third, and special teams. Just elaborate how important you think that this game is going to come down to special teams.
Yeah, Lorenzo, we've had many conversations, Matt and I and DJ, since I've been here about building a complete football team. And really, those are the teams that win championships consistently, are the teams that are complete in all three phases. Because as you know, like you don't know in a particular game which phase is ultimately going to win the game for you. And I think the way you can stay consistent throughout the whole season and be your best, certainly at the end when you need it, is a team that can win any type of way, whatever the matchup is, whether, what your roster's like injury wise, all that good stuff, that you can win it in any phase of the game. And so, you make the great point is it is a third. Each place has an equal part in winning, and so I think that what we've tried to do, and it's been our whole organization is build a team that's deep enough in all three phases, to win any game we play. So we're excited to prove ourselves this season.
Coach, you get to see it every day in practice, and I'm sure you feel it around the city. There's a lot of people that are excited about Kellen Moore coming on as a coordinator, and deservedly so. I mean, the Cowboys have been one of the top offenses in the league year in, year out with him at the controls. How much different is this going to look? You still have almost all the same players, but it feels like the players are juiced. A lot of people are excited. What have you noticed that's different in having Kellen Moore on board?
Well, I think Matt, just the play style. I think the way that our guys are playing, day in and day out, and I think the way that they're taking the practice field, and I think the consistency of their performance. I think there's an excitement about playing. I think, one of the things that I think he was really good at in Dallas was everybody touched the ball, and I think offensively that's something that I believe in and that we believe in is that to be a dynamic offense, you have to have every person on the offense, be a threat and be a weapon and be something that you can use to your advantage. And so, I think sharing the ball is something that makes a great offenses special. And I think that we have that. And then when you have a point guard, a trigger man like ours, it just gives you that extra dimension. And I think what Kellen's been able to do is to team up with all those special guys that DJ, and Matt and Lorenzo is like, he's been able to team up with these guys and use their chemistry together that's already been established and then build on it. And I think the fact that he played that position and been in those, those type of locker rooms and been in those type of skill position rooms where that you're going to have, people demanding touches and how to manage that the right way, and knowing that it's all about winning. And I think that that's what our guys love about Kellen. They know he's just all about winning. He knows that he's there for them, and he's been able to fit in within our whole team, not just offensively, but our defensive players have connected with him as well in our special team. So been a great addition for us.
Coach, what's your biggest thing when you're coaching? When you're coaching, as far as coaching not just players, but just trying to add that extra eyes with the coaches. How do you integrate all that to not be condescending? Because you do a great job, seem like you let the coaches do their thing, but how do you integrate that as being the head guy to integrate everyone in where people feel that, hey, they belong, but also they understand the accountability level?
Yeah, it's really important. There's no more important role as the head coach than being able to have the ability to affect everyone on the team, where you're not just some siloed coaches with the defense or with the offense or
Sure.
whatever, where you can affect everybody, and that's players, coaches, staff. And I think the way you do that, Lorenzo, and it's something that's always on my mind, is being current with your relationships. I think that's how you can affect anybody at a moment's notice. Is that they know that you're there all the time, And so when you do need to check in with somebody, you're able to get your point across. And I think, what I've tried to do is have that global view as the head coach is really know what's going on in all three phases, have really good assistants that can tell you, hey, you know what, you may need to talk to this guy. Hey, he needs a little bit of a bounce, a little bit of a boost, or hey, maybe it's getting on somebody, and let them know, Lorenzo, before you're going to do it. Like, hey, man, I'm going to get on you in this team meeting, and the impact that's going to have for the rest of the team. And so, because how you do it matters, right? You know how you do it. So normally
Hey,
prepping them for it's a good thing, but it's the same way with coaches too. I mean, you talked about Kellen, Matt, but us being able to share, like, yeah, we have this great thing and this great chemistry, but hey, like if there was a tough practice in training camp, like, hey, Kellen, like we've got to be better than that, and we got to have high standards for our offense. And like, that scrimmage comes to mind, like, hey, it wasn't a great like scrimmage, like, hey, let's make sure that we get it corrected. Hey, let's know that we're on the same page, and that we're taking full ownership of what we're doing. And again, I think what that does, Lorenzo, is create a vibe. I think that's what culture
sure.
is. It's a feeling. When you come into the office, when you come into the complex, that you feel like doing all the hard work that the NFL requires, and that's what the head coaching role is for. And it's the most important job I have. It's not calling defenses. It's not making timeouts and fourth down decisions. It's making sure that everybody in our organization is operating at their highest level.
Matt, I said,
Well,
The reason why I asked that, sorry about that, Matt. The reason why I asked that, because the great LT, I tell you guys a story, coach, so you could appreciate this. Marty Schottenheimer, he's comes up to practice, say, hey, LT, just know I'm going to have to get on you today. And, just to make sure everyone. So we get in the meeting. Marty's, LT, you got to do better. And everyone's, wow, he was all over LT. After get out to practice, Marty's like, hey, thanks a lot. Appreciate that. So you're absolutely right. It's great that you have that, understand the heartbeat of that team.
You got to do it. And, Coach Schottenheimer, I'm from Cleveland. So, I know that was one of his great talents, was being able to
Yes.
connect, to the team and get the team playing, get the whole team playing, not just one thing, like get the whole team playing. And it's the most fun part of the job, being able to connect with everybody, in the organization. And that's what gives me juice every day.
Well, we certainly appreciate it, Coach. It's a lot of talking and it's a lot of speculating, and it all comes down to week one. And we saw it, right? We saw tens of thousands of people in the preseason at these games, their excitement. We saw thousands of people in San Francisco for the third and final preseason game in Powder Blue out at Levi's. So there is an incredible amount of excitement around the team, and could not be more excited to finally get it started this week. Sunday, 1:25 p.m. at SoFi Stadium. Tickets available at Chargers.com. Still a few, so get on it right away. Those will all be gone. But as of right now, still a few left. We appreciate it. Good luck. We look forward to talking with you down the road, Coach.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate you having me.